Hi, my name is Brandon Feldkamp, and my partner is Anna Hartford. This is our project presentation for the investigation of Android cell phone data logs. Datasets are from Kaggle.com as part of the Sherlock experiment. About the Sherlock experiment. The Sherlock experiment is a large-scale smartphone data collection project. The experiment was conducted for a period of 2 years with 50 unique users. The users agreed to use a smartphone provided by the researchers for the period of their sampling. The goal of the experiment is to aid industry security professionals and educational researchers in finding better methods of detecting malware on smartphones. About the datasets. There are 15 datasets in total for the experiment. 7 of the datasets are push datasets. The data is pushed for the devices to the researchers' servers based on the actions of the user. 8 of the datasets are pull datasets. The data is pulled from the devices and sent to the researcher's server based on predefined timing of login. What is in the push datasets? The push datasets are composed of the following: call logs, SMS logs, screen status information, user presence indicators, broadcast intents, app packages, and Moriarty. We'll be covering more Moriarty later on. What's in the pull datasets? The pull datasets are composed of the following: T0, which is telephony, hardware, and system information, sampled every 24 hours. T1, geolocation, cell tower, and screen state information, sampled every minute. T2, energy, acceleration, and gyro information, sampled every 15 seconds. T3, audio and light information, sampled every 10 seconds. T4, battery, memory, and transfer bytes, sampled every 5 seconds. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and application. More about the data. The full dataset contains 600 billion data points, 10 billion unique records. We are using 2 weeks' worth of data from one user. Sherlock refers to all the datasets except Moriarty. Moriarty is malware that is downloaded by the user via the Google Play Store. Moriarty leaves clues about his malicious activities, and we have to locate these clues by finding the correlations and anomalies in the Sherlock dataset. Our goals. We utilize Python techniques learned this semester to review, analyze, visualize, and correlate the data between Sherlock datasets and between Sherlock datasets and Moriarty datasets. We find information that allows us to better understand triggers for malware that can be identified within a device's sensors. Our process. We downloaded the 15 datasets into CSV files. We read the files into Panda data frames. We use the Unix timestamp to match up data points between datasets. We use visualization techniques to see the data and help identify triggers and correlations. We look for identifiers, clues within the Sherlock datasets that will help us find Moriarty's activities. Code sampling. Here is our import packets that will be used later. We use NumPy, time, datetime, pandas, matplotlib, and Seaborn. First, we read in the Moriarty and T1 dataset from Sherlock. As you see, we create our Moriarty data frame from the Moriarty second CSV. And here we have the T4 data. It's very large, so we create the T4 data frame by reading the T4.csv. Then we have to convert the timestamp to milliseconds so we can read the data. We join the two files at the intersection of the Unix timestamp, otherwise leave the data out. This will allow us to see the intersection of sensors data relative to malicious action performed by Moriarty. Then we print the data frame to see the shape. Here are some histograms that we were able to create. These are the histograms of the merged data sets. This one's total memory used, and this one is session ID. Now you see these are 3 graphs showing the overlap and correlation of the Moriarty actions merged with the T4 dataset. Figure 1 is the comparison of total memory used. Figure 2 is the total CPU. And figure 3 is the total memory size free. blue and green graphs, the blue is the data from T4 and green is the same data from the merged Moriarty and T4 dataset. So they compare the levels of different types of memory sensors used during the times overlapped. This helps us to see which of the most correlated or impacted by Moriarty actions. Here we see that there is no correlation found with mobile bytes used. See, the green line remains at 0. This represents the Moriarty cross-reference. The three memory graphs show a high overlap, while the mobile data shows that the malware at play during this 2-week period did not leave us clues within the mobile data sensors. Free memory available for polls of T4 as compared to Moriarty actions. This is just another way to see the correlation side by side. You see our code to the left on how we created these charts. Here you can see we have a Seaborn scatter plot of the total memory used during Moriarty activity. The UUID is the Unix timestamp in milliseconds. For Seaborn, we can't plot the date that was configured, so we had to convert it to a numeric. And this is for total memory used. Finding correlations with T4. T4 is a large data set, and it had over 869 matching rows with the Moriarty timestamps. In order to isolate them, we utilized built-in correlation and absolute value functions from pandas. We are able to print the last 10 entries, which gives us the top 5 correlations. The code is listed below. Heat map correlation of Moriarty actions to total free memory from T4. In order to map the T4 dataset, columns had to be removed. Below we have the code. We have to filter off some of the columns of MT4 so that we could create a heat map correlation graph for it. Here is the heat map correlation of Moriarty actions to total free memory from T4. As you can see, we used session ID, total memory, free size, total memory used size, battery voltage, buffers, and active anon. Merging Moriarty T1 and T4. Looking for additional correlation between sensor polls and Moriarty, we combine the newly created subset data frame of Moriarty and T4 with the original T1 data frame. We see 1,443 matching timestamp rows and find additional correlations with geomean values from T1. Below you see the code of the new M14 data frame. We merged it and we create the correlation map. Here is the heat map. As you can see, there are many more correlations. Looking at push data from app packages. App packages contain the SHA-1 hash value for each application on the user's phone. We use this to send a file to VirusTotal to determine if the phone contains known viruses. Below is the code we use to communicate with virustotal.com. Then we check on a response file from VirusTotal. Below is the code, and then we get the response from virustotal.com. Our 2-week sample contained 82 unique SHA-1 hash keys. Our results didn't find any known malware with the exception of the Sherlock Moriarty application. 56 apps were screened as probably okay, 1 wasn't found, 24 were not application types scanned by the tool. Some of these included Palo Alto, Symantec, Infinsia, CrowdStrike, Falcon. Although this 2-week sampling didn't find anything, this is a very important tool to be able to use from within Python for malware detection. User Presence Dataset. Merging the user presence dataset with the timestamps on Moriarty's activities, we find that the user was present for some of the activities. This is a clue that helps identify that the malware is capable of initiating actions even when the user is not present. This shows the Unix timestamp and the session ID. Can user presence data help recognize phone theft and invalid access? The research of the Sherlock project believed that the information contained within the datasets can allow all other researchers to create tools that will aid in theft. There are so many sensor readings that can be evaluated in combination with the user presence timestamps. There are time delays to be mindful, however, as the push data from user presence is collected upon a user action, while the pull data is collected at the intervals from 5 seconds from T4 to 24 hours T0. Being mindful of this, we chose to look at the T4 dataset since it is the highest rate of sensor data. Here's the intersection of user presence with T4 in relation to total memory used. There's the date and total memory used from May 10th to May 18th. Future work. We have only begun to scratch the surface of what types of analysis could be done with the full datasets from this project. We were only able to analyze the 2-week sampling from a single user. Cross-referencing data points across all 50 users would allow research to find patterns with the malware as it relates to the user's interaction and device sensor readings. In conclusion, we were able to take the Sherlock dataset and analyze and manipulate the data to learn about how malware may work on Android devices. Malware is capable of sending private information that can implicate you and your data in many ways. Please feel free to ask any questions and we will answer them on the discussion board. Thank you for listening.